constructively. And by doing that, we can change things.
After the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law, the most popular figure of the civil rights movement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., turned his focus towards a new cause.
Dr. King said, well, no longer suffer the indignity of having to go to the back of the bus to go on about it. But you can get out of the degradation of segregation. You can have the right to vote, but without access to capital and development, you cannot grow. We must address that.
By the spring of 1968, King's economic crusade would lead him to Memphis in support of the city's striking sanitation workers. It was hostile territory.
A lot of people wanted him dead. Police departments throughout the country, lots of racist groups that wanted him eliminated.
There was a sense that the threats around Dad's life were escalating.
The FBI, of course, was engaged in doing everything it could to neutralize and eliminate King as a leader. J. Edgar Hoover felt that the demonstrations and the protests were going to lead to an insurrection, and that people like Martin Luther King were much more of a threat. That becomes the justification for establishing wiretaps and bugs of King. And that starts in the fall of 1963 and continues for the rest of King's life.
Our home phone was bugged. His office phone was bugged. Everywhere he went, the FBI would send a team of people and they would put bugging devices in the rooms.
On April 3rd, 1968, King and several members of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, boarded a plane for Tennessee. A bomb threat delayed their arrival into Memphis, where King was scheduled to speak at a rally that evening.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I see the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
He was like different kind of authority with which he spoke at that time. He just did not fear sabotage, didn't fear ambush, didn't fear dying. He come to grips with life and death and immortality.
The next evening, King, Jackson, and the rest of the SCLC leaders met at the Lorraine Motel as they prepared to attend dinner at a local minister's home.
I remember coming across the yard around 5:40, and he came out, and we were supposed to leave at 5 o'clock. He was just coming out the door, and he said, Jesse, we're running late, you don't even have on a tie. I said, Doc, the prerequisite for eating is an appetite, not a tie. He laughed. He was on the balcony, just one floor up, and then he raised his head up. It was a tremendous sound, pop. And by the time we got there, someone saying, get low, we ran to the steps. All of us were standing there pointing together to it, where the bullet had come from.
We were watching television and it came across the news.
America is shocked and saddened by the brutal slaying tonight of Dr. Martin Luther King.
It was one shot that took him out, and the entire area over here gone. My father was such a powerful orator. It almost looked as if somebody was aiming for his speech, his mouth, that area to shut him up. So to make a shot like that, you would have to know what you were doing.
2 months after the assassination of Dr. King, fingerprints lifted from the rifle found near the Lorraine Motel led authorities to 40-year-old James Earl Ray. The escaped convict was apprehended at London's Heathrow Airport using a forged passport.
I always felt that it was mysterious as to how this man was able to get to Canada and then to London, England, and yet he was basically a petty thief.
We didn't have the money, the mobility, or the motivation to have done it by himself. This was a bigger deal. so he did not act alone.
Based on his initial confession, which he immediately recanted, Ray was sentenced to 99 years in prison without a trial, leaving many questions surrounding the assassination unanswered.
So there are a lot of mysterious things that happened in Memphis in 1968. There were security people who were around to sort of protect Dad. 1 hour before he was killed, the security detail was pulled.
There were 2 black firemen who were supposed to be on duty at the fire station. They were told not to go to work that day. There were 2 black policemen, both of whom were responsible for looking, surveilling, and keeping an eye on the balcony and the motel. One of them was pulled off within a short time before the killing.
In 1999, Lloyd Jowers, owner of the diner near the motel where the murder weapon was found, claimed involvement in a plot to kill King that involved the FBI, Memphis police, and the local mafia, but not James Earl Ray.
Since we were able to break down Lloyd Jowers and get the truth from him about his role, we decided to sue him civilly. It took the jury 59 minutes to find that the guilt for the assassination rested with agents of the government of the United States, state of Tennessee, city of Memphis, and Lloyd Jowers.
The King family collected only $100 in damages to prove the civil action had no monetary motive. Though no government agents were called to testify in the proceedings, and much of the evidence, including Jowers' testimony, has since been called into question, the Kings maintain that the court decision validates what they have always known.
No matter what people think about conspiracies, until you have lived it, you may think we're crazy, but we're not. I know there were a lot of individuals, forces, people involved in this assassination.
If the FBI didn't do it, they were probably aware of threats against Martin Luther King's life. Why didn't they do something to prevent those threats from being carried out? Why were they watching him? What were their orders? All of that indicates that the assassination of Martin Luther King is not just a question of one person pulling a trigger. It's a question of Martin Luther King being the target of one of the most vicious campaigns of surveillance that has ever taken place.
The more important thing for me has always been what killed Martin Luther King. What killed John Kennedy? What killed Malcolm X? What killed Medgar Evers? Not who. What is it that causes us to feel threatened by people like that? That we feel it necessary to get rid of them?